every time I spoke to anybody, it was, well, when the property gets sold or when we're going to do the next big project, then we'll take down the house. The house still stands. Newbridge Services now owns the property. They were going to build a handicap facility house there, which we all came and listened to their proposal here about 3 or 4 years ago. We begrudgingly agreed to it. Okay. That house never got built. The funding, they get funding, but then they'd lose funding. They'd get more funding and they'd lose funding. It never got built. The house still stands. It's on a nice wooded property, nice, very nice lot. The trees probably are 60 to 70 years old, other than this little tiny dinky house. Newbridge Services is now in the process of selling that property to Habitat for Humanity. We finally found that out after numerous phone calls to the mayor's office. I was hoping the mayor was here this evening because I was going to tell him point blank, I've worked with the Parsippany mayor's office for 29 years, and I'm not happy with what's happened the past 6 months. I was told that we can't tell you who they're selling it to, or we're not sure, or we'll know more next week. Well, we finally found out it was Habitat for Humanity. Now, it's zoned for a single-family house. Habitat, I talked to the lady that's in charge of Habitat for Humanity. They want to come in, they want to change the ordinance, they want to put 12 units in there for 12 families. We're only talking about a 1 acre lot here that's only a little bit bigger than 1 acre. It's a pristine wooded lot. There is no sewer or water on the property. Henry Street is 1 lane wide. This is just not the place to put this housing complex. It would basically be an apartment building that 10 families around the circumference of this property would now be looking, instead of looking at woods, would be looking at an apartment building. I said this to the lady. I said, you know as well as I do. I said, I'm not a NIMBY. I said, Habitat for Humanity does some good things. I'm not opposed to that. I'm just opposed to where you're going to put this on a pristine lot. She kind of agreed, but she says, you know, everywhere we go, we have problems. Well, I'm sorry. There are other houses you can buy that's an existing house or it's an existing property between 2 houses where you can just build a plain, ordinary house, not an apartment complex, in a nice little wooded lot.
Sir, 1 minute. You have 1 minute left.
The other thing I'd like to say is for 29 years I've been bouncing up and down Route 53. I made numerous phone calls to the state for the last 3 years trying to get the manholes and get it repaved. Each year I get told next year, next year, next year. Parsippany as a town, who have thousands of people that drive on Route 53, could start to get the ball rolling on that. We'd appreciate it also. You know, some letters from the mayor's office, from the town council, I don't know who, but to the appropriate people to see to it that 53 gets paved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Boris contacted me today on this Habitat for Humanity. I have not been a part of any discussions regarding this. Has anybody here? Has anybody here been a part of a discussion?
Well, it hasn't come up on the planning board, and I don't know if it will.
Anybody?
No, not that I know. Yeah.
They must be
Haven't heard
talking to
anything.
somebody in town.
Has the property been sold? Do we know that for sure?
It's sort of under a contract with, if they get the rezoning, then
Oh, it's
they will eventually buy it.
So then it's an option. It's an option to buy with a condition on it.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Now, the nice part here is, I'll take an extra 30 seconds, I'll seal it. We have somebody, an individual.
You just speak into the mic.
That's willing.
Need you to
Get
speak into
closer
the mic.
microphone.
An individual is willing to buy the property and do nothing with it. Remove that house and do nothing with it, leave it as woods. Perfect for everybody.
Well, why hasn't that person taken that option?
They have.
They wouldn't,
It's
first of all,
currently
They're
under-
too late.
They wouldn't
Habitat
talk to
for
'em.
Humanity
Right.
already has an option to
Yeah.
they
buy.
wouldn't
option to
talk
buy.
to them.
With that caveat.
And now they're saying that Parsippany has put X amount of dollars, which they won't say how many dollars. Parsippany has put X amount of dollars into trying to help Habitat for Humanity, trying to help Newbridge Services.
Newbridge Services, we tried to help.
And now they need to use that money for affordable housing. The money really wasn't used. It was going to be put out there if they were going to build what Newbridge Services was going to build. They never built it, so the money was never used.
Right.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. I'm gonna check into that.
Yeah, Newbridge, we had supported that because that would count towards our low-income housing count,
Absolutely,
but not Habitat for Humanity.
no.
And definitely not 12.
12 units on
12
1 acre?
apartments.
12 units on
condos
1 acre?
1 acre.
No.
In the
Don't
middle of a
think so.
neighborhood like that? No.
Well, if they need to get a zoning change, then they have to come
here.
before the planning board and before the
And they
council.
Come here
Yeah.
also.
It's okay, I'm loud enough for everyone.
No, it's
No, actually,
change it for the
it's
record.
recorded, Sylvia.
Tilt it
so-
down.
It has to be
Just
recorded.
pull it down towards the front of it. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. I haven't been here in
We-
Just
many,
state your
many
name and
years.
address.
Name.
Sylvia Schumann, 18 Ferndale Drive. Haven't been here in many, many years. Don't know any of you except Mike and I go back about 30 years. So he knows me, I know him.
You're not that old.
Pardon? Oh, you'd be surprised how old I
You
am.
have 5 minutes.
Okay. Jersey City Reservoir,
Mhm.
up to here. I called the township, mayor's office 3 weeks ago, before the hurricane, before Florence was heavily discussed, let's put it that way. They were still thinking maybe Bermuda, maybe, who
So
knows?
what's that to us?
I went through the last one where I got the robocall, evacuate your house, we're opening the Jersey City Reservoir. Now I know, I moved into this town in 1969. So I have been there and done that a number of times. I did not leave my house. I had 2 sump pumps working. I had spent $700 the night before that hurricane landed here, putting in the water power based sump pump so that in case the electricity went, I would still have a sump pump. They were both working. I thought the electricity would go. Miracle of miracles, it didn't go. But they opened up the reservoir. I knew the minute they opened that up, because as far back as, I can't think of the name now, the one mayor used to say, well, when I sit in my office and I see them opening it, I know there's going to be a flood in Lake Hiawatha. This is many years ago. Name escapes me at the moment. Anyway, here we are. I called 3 weeks ago, and I was at the mayor's office this morning here around the corner. And they know, they admitted it. Yes, you did. You called. I said, well, here we are. Did anyone think to open it? I know what happens because I went through it with Mayor Barbario. The first hurricane, crowds of people, meetings of people, all kinds of things. FEMA was coming, everybody was coming. Now, the second one, I called Mayor Barbario and he got on the phone with me. I told him, I said, you got away with the first hurricane. The second one, if you don't open that reservoir, you're not going to get away with it. There will be a suit. I don't care if it's the company that runs it, if it's the state, but that's it. The next morning it was announced, Paquonic, Wayne, Boonton, and there was one other one were to be opened. fine, because it has to come from the state. It was explained to me. I said, well, call the state. You know their number. It happened, they opened it, okay. However, the water, when they opened it on the hurricane where they did, the water was coming through the cinder block. 3 walls looked in my basement like Niagara Falls. Wasn't coming up through the ground, was coming down the cinder block. It came to the threshold of my basement and my foyer door, up at the marble in the foyer. It stopped because the
1 minute, ma'am. 1 minute.
All right, equilibrium was the pumps and the amount of water coming in had reached equilibrium. So it didn't come into my first floor, actually, fine. All right, we're sitting here now, the water is up to here. The hurricane is hitting the Carolinas. I called 3 weeks ago. I said, you're hitting the hurricane season. You are up to here with the reservoir. Open it. Let it go through slowly, because the last one,
30 seconds.
they knew that the hurricane was coming. Nobody did a thing. We're watching it. So I watched the water come down my walls. Everybody watched. It has to be open. Now we've had all this rain. The ground is saturated, super saturated. Where is the water going to go? The river is already high. I would like someone to be put in charge, whether it's the water department, I don't care who it is. Something like this, when you have a summer filled with rain, and it's
Time's
up
up.
to here. In July, start letting a little water out every day, every week, on a schedule.
Okay.
So that you leave some room for this particular thing, which you know is going to happen. There are 3 hurricanes
All right, ma'am.
forming
Ma'am,
right
you're-
behind this one.
Your time is up. We're going to have to, but we will,
It's
pass
a
your
sin,
issue- your
and I'm
concerns on.
telling you, if I get 1 drop of water, if nothing happens to this and it doesn't hit New Jersey, whatever it is, thank God. But you'd rather be safe than sorry. You can't put these people down there through this every year or 2. It's unconscionable, and it's not necessary. Someone
we
has to
understand.
monitor
ma'am,
that reservoir.
we have to move on to the next person.
I know you don't
Okay.
want to hear what I'm saying.
No, I truly,
But I'll be
we listened
here
to what you
in
said.
a couple of weeks. I'm going to do this until it happens, because I'm sick and tired
I
of
agree
it.
with you.
Everybody,
Years ago with
every
that storm,
mayor
I
I've
said it should have been
spoken to
lowered
over the
prior
years,
to. Okay.
It was always the same
Ma'am, I have to have you
thing.
sit down now. But I do agree with you, okay?
You
I
agree, but nothing will be done.
No,
You
I agreed
agree
with you
us
5 years
all,
ago, 6
but
years ago when we
nobody
had
ever
that
does
storm.
anything.
Some of the council members are new. They'd like me to explain what's really happening with this. First of all, the Jersey City Reservoir was never built to regulate water flow in the Rockaway River. It was built to store water for Jersey City. Its drain pipe is only a 1 foot wide, 1 foot diameter drain pipe. And the governor can only order that the reservoir be lowered no more than 48 hours before a storm hits. They don't have a floodgate. The Jersey City Reservoir does not have a floodgate, which is what we would need to do what Sylvia wants. Before the storm hits, 48 hours with a floodgate, you could let enough water out where you drop it by 3 or 4 feet. The reservoir has a while to back up. With a 1 foot diameter pipe, okay, in 48 hours, they dropped the level 4 inches. And so it overflowed rapidly with all the rain we had during Hurricane Irene. It was a 500-year flood, and we have a 100-year flood wall. So it's not ours. United Water runs the Jersey City Reservoir for Jersey City, and in their perspective, okay, water is dollars. If they let a lot of water out, they start a week ahead of time or a month ahead of time because they know it's coming, and then the hurricane goes someplace else, they've lost dollars. Water is dollars. And they're not about to do that. So I tried after Hurricane Irene, I went all the way up to our state legislators, and I said, you should be legislating that United Water build a floodgate, a real floodgate there, so they can drop it 2 or 3 feet or 4 feet, 48 hours before they know where the storm is going and it's going to hit and it's going to be a big one. They could open the floodgate. They don't have a floodgate.
So they can't do this before 48, they have to wait 48 hours before
The
they...
governor cannot order lakes and dams to lower their levels no more than 48 hours before a storm hits. That's the governor.
Thank you, thank you.
And United Water is not going to do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose the money.
Well, some
where's it?
legislation has to be forced on.
I agree with you, but it's got to be done by the state.
Go ahead, sir.
And I tried doing that, Sylvia, after Hurricane Irene. Very.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Trey Parikh, and I'm a resident of Parsippany for last 10 years. My address is 791 Park Road, and I'm here with my neighbor Bob and a few other neighbors to discuss. Just want to reiterate what Bob said before about the Henry Street property. I used to live on right off of Route 10 on South Powder Mill in the townhouses for about 9 years. And last year, we built a brand new house right on Park Road, knowing that there was a group home permission for disabled, and we're perfectly fine with the size and the scope of the project. So we built a house, and like you just heard from Bob, there are discussions about putting a 12-unit condo complex in a completely residential neighborhood. In fact, the entire Park Road and all the streets off of Park Road, there's nothing like that. It's all single-family residential. So just want to make sure that when time comes for zoning and approval, we'll probably have all our neighbors here, and we're going to need some assistance from you. Because I don't think it makes sense. It's a single-family residential community through and through the entire street, and any building like an apartment complex, it's not, that land is not really meant for that. There are other pieces of property throughout the town where we can build something like this, but we want to preserve and maintain, and especially the at least in my case, I don't know about the other residents across, on the other side of the Park Road, but all the houses around the property, they'll definitely see a significant decrease in their values if something like this went up there. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wouldn't
Thank
that
you.
have to go before the zoning board first? I think that would be in the zoning board, wouldn't it, or would it
No,
be a
it's not.
variance for the planning board?
It's a planning board application.
So, okay.
The planning board application would have variances.
Right, so, yeah, okay.
Janice, are you on the planning board?
Yeah, yeah, so we haven't heard anything about that at all, yet. So there's nothing that I've seen that's come up about that either. But that would be where you would go first, when there's a hearing at the planning board, and I think you would get notice of that. Okay, yeah.
It's been about 2 weeks. Oh, Isabella
Wait.
Alfano, 8 New England Drive. It's been about 2 weeks we've been hearing rumors around town about the water being contaminated, and it just blows my mind that you guys have no response about it. About 2 years ago, the Board of Education went through lead water poisoning because my son goes to East Lake Elementary, and they proactively did not allow the children to use the water faucets. They provided fresh water to avert anyone from getting some type of contamination until the final testing was done. I just would hope that this township is being as transparent as possible and ensuring that you allow that the town members know what's going on as soon as you know. because it's very hard for us to hear all these rumors around town, and then for you guys to look at us and tell us we don't know too much about it. And that's kind of scary, because, you know, we depend on you to at least be honest with us. We have families, we have children. You know, the Board of Education should be aware of what's going on. We just don't want anyone to be disingenuous. I think we deserve that. Thank you.
Thank you. See no one else come forward, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Thank you. Okay, status of adopted ordinances, ordinance 2018:12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Or not 16, up to 15, were adopted on August 21st, 2018. Mayoral action, August 23rd, 2018. Effective date, September 12th, 2018.
You're correct, Council President. It was 16 as well.
And 16. Okay. Ordinance 2018:15, the adopted date was August 21st. The mayoral action was August 23rd. Effective date was August 21st. Okay, introduction. Any questions on those ordinances for introduction there? From council members? No?
No.
Okay, Mr. DePiero, 2018:22.
Okay, we just received a copy of this tonight, and I've had no chance to go through it. I'll offer it now for introduction, but I reserve the right to vote no if I don't agree with what I think the changes are.
Okay.
Ordinance 2018:22. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, amending the redevelopment plan for property identified as Block 200, Lot 1.2, and located at 1515 Route 10 in the township, and referring said amendment to the Planning Board for review and comment in accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 48:12A-1 et seq. Be resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on September 11th, 2018, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on September 25th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
This is just the introduction, yes?
Correct.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, Ms.
Now
McCarthy.
for the second reading under ordinance 2018-17, there's a typo under the 13,360,063.
Okay. Ordinance 2018:17, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $13,360,067, therefore, and authorizing the issuance.
67.
Seven.
67?
That's a 7. Is that a 7? Yeah. Yeah. Issuance of and therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $12,692,064 bonds or notes of the township to the finance part of the cost thereof. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on August 27, 2018. This ordinance was introduced at the August 21st, 2018 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2018:17 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open public hearing.
Public
Oh,
hearing?
Whereas the ordinance
No,
above was...
motion.
No, right.
Oh, here, motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2018:17.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, that's for that ordinance only.
Bob Venezia, 102 Brooklawn Drive. I was just wondering if this bonding, is it a rollover of bonding that expired, or is it new debt? I'm not, like, if it's new debt, this is a very large number, and I'm concerned about it. And how much of it is new debt?
May I answer?
Yes, go
It's
ahead,
all new debt.
It's all new debt.
But we're way under the threshold for debt in the town. These things have to get done, but we're paying down the other debt, so it's new.
Do you know what the total outstanding debt that we have now and before this? And
I do. Let's see. The total debt, the net debt for the town is 93 million.
this will add.
That's including,
That's the utilities too, right?
yeah, the utilities are added into there. I would say it's about 105,000 million. 105 million, sorry. I'd be happy to show you the debt statement whenever you want.
And
We're allowed to have 3% of equalized value. We're at 1.235. So we're way below the threshold for the size town we are.
But you wouldn't want to be anywhere near.
No,
3%.
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right. And how that 1.2, how does that stack up historically, compared to, Parsippany's percentage of debt, say?
In the past,
In the
maybe.
past.
Yeah. It's pretty much on the same level. We were below that. I mean, when I came on board, I think it was around 0.9. So it's creeped up a bit, but we're doing large projects as we've gone along. One of them is that big radio project that's going on. And that was added on this year, actually, at the end of last year.
Okay.
And wasn't that amount somewhere around 500,000
Which,
for the radio?
no, it was a million,
Million?
that was 10 million. 10,400,000.
Yeah,
But
for
we
that radio.
paid
That's-
cash.
that radio.
Now, here's what happens. We do authorize this debt, but do we take it on? Not for many years, because we want to try to pay it down. Maybe we won't do all the projects, et cetera. To plan the financing for that with the finance committee. It authorizes debt, but we do not necessarily take it all out, especially at one time. And that's something we go over with the finance committee, how we're going to pay it.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay,
Nobody's coming forward. No.
All right, motion.
Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2018:17.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on the second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that the notice and final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. Peterson.
Ordinance 2018:18, bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the water utility in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $2,925,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,725,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. The notice for the ordinance was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on August 27th, 2018. This ordinance was introduced at the August 21st, 2018 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2018:18 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing on 2018:18. Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2018:18.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only.
Nicholas Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. Does this entail, or will it be in addition to improvements in the water utility to remedy the well situation that we talked about before?
There's only one part of that ordinance for actually well 20 rehab. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with what you've been talking about. I don't believe it does, but I'm not aware of any contamination or anything like that. But this well 20 is being rehabilitated.
So this is all for well 20?
No, part of it is. Only $1.5 million is from well 20. There's some other items on there that is included.
But nothing to do with the... All right.
I'm not sure what that is, so
Yeah.
that wasn't included in any of this.
But there is a well, from reliable sources from the state, I've been told that, it's been contaminated.
She can't answer
I
that
have no
question,
comment on
Nick.
that. I'm just telling you that.
But I'm sure you may be correct, but she can't answer that. She doesn't have any knowledge
All
to
right,
that,
but-
so.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Seeing no one else come forward, I make a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2018:18.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, all set.
Whereas the ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion
Ms.
passes.
Grignani?
Ordinance 2018:19. Bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the Knoll utility in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $253,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $253,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on August the 27th, 2018. This ordinance was introduced at the August 21st, 2018 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2018:19 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing 2018:19. Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2018:19 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only.
See no, oh, sorry about that. Sorry.
Nick Colmiak again. I just have a simple question. If Knoll is supposed to be a self-sustaining utility, do they pick up this bill, or do the taxpayers of Parsippany
That
pick it up?
is self-sustaining, that's going right under the Knowles.
Whatever
budget.
money they make.
Mhm.
So it's only because we own it that,
We maintain it, I mean, it's like a sewer utility, like a water utility, all self-sustaining. It's individually.
every time a golfer goes there and he pays a fee or whatever, that's the money that they're gonna use.
Mm-hmm, that's
Okay.
exactly right.
All right.
See no one. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2018:19 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title or on second reading and hearing thereof, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes. Yes.
Okay, 2018:20. Before I read this, I just need to clarify, I've already checked with Ann. This $500,000 that we're using is from the surplus at the sewer plant, and it's gonna be used for equipment at the sewer plant.
Not this particular one, the next one.
The next one.
On number 21 is a capital improvement, that's all out of surplus. But this one is for a particular truck, one jet vac truck. So that'll be a bond issue.
Oh, this is a bond,
This
okay.
is a bond, the
It's
next one's a
one.
capital,
I
yep.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
mhm.
2018:20, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a sewer jet vacuum truck for the sewer utility in and by the township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the county of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $500,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof. Notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the township of Parsippany Troy Hills on August 27th, 2018. This ordinance was introduced at the August 21st, 2018 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2018:20 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Who made that motion?
Mr. DePiero, and then seconded by Mr.
Okay,
McCarthy.
motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open a public hearing on this ordinance.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open to speak on this ordinance only.
Just because I'm here, I'd like to know what a sewer jet vacuum truck is.
Exactly what it sounds like.
My answer was.
They sneak a thing down. He explained the whole. So I went on a tour of the sewer department earlier on in my tenure, and they sneak a thing down and.
Would it be the truck that if the storm drain clogs up, they would go in with
I
that?
believe that that is the same truck. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost certain it's the same truck.
That's right, you went.
I did.
Okay, seeing no one else.
Okay, Mike.
Motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
And Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
McCarthy?
Ordinance 2018:21, ordinance appropriating $515,000 from the Sewer Utility Capital Improvement Fund for the acquisition of vehicles and replacement of water meters in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on August 27, 2018. This ordinance was introduced at the August 21st, 2018 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2018:21.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, second by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing 2018:21. Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2018:21.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one else?
Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2018:21.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and hearing held thereon, now therefore it be resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of the final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, non-consent agenda, resolutions none. Consent agenda, council members, take a look at those. There are no questions, concerns. Entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by
Grignani?
Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Have a good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.